Good morning, everyone present here. I welcome you all on behalf of Central India Regional Council of CIRCFIs, Central India Regional Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Friends, we are here to understand what all professional opportunities are available to the young members. And this program is being organized under the Young Member Mentorship Program. And for today's program, we have a chief guest with us, C.A. Vijay Gupta ji, who is again from India itself and from our Central India region, Banda. But as of now, he is into Vancouver in Canada. And I believe he's a founder chairman of Canada chapter. And as a speaker, we have with us C.A. Sonal Goyal. Again, she's from India. She's a company secretary, a chartered accountant, and she's a postgraduate, means MCOM, and she's holding CPA degree also in Canada. Sonal is a very dynamic and proactive finance executive, having experience for more than 15 years in publicity, in publicly listed and privately held companies, in telecommunication, financial service sector across Asia, Africa, and North America. So it is really a very wonderful initiative of Sonam, where she is going to give us a deliberation, especially on the topic where the young members are willing to go to Canada. So they would be having all insight while the Sonal will be giving a deliberation. She has, as I already mentioned, she has done degree, not only from India, but also in Canada. She's having more than 5 years experience of auditing and consulting, and he holds a director of finance position with Amar Financial Group in Canada. She is an active volunteer with the British Columbia chapter of ICI and enjoys spending time with family in her spare time. So this is like it is a boon for all the members, attendees who are joining this today's session to understand the way forward for entry in Canada, especially the young members who have passed their exams in recent past and wanted to start their career out of India, especially like who are willing to go for a job or otherwise in a practice. So I'm sure good knowledge about the scope of Indian Chartered Accountants in Canada. So before starting the today's session, we have with us C. Vijay Gupta ji. He is again a Chartered Accountant from India. And he's a very senior member. As I mentioned, he's from our own region, Banda, our own Central India region, and he's originally from Banda. So when I spoke to him, I found he's very young and energetic. He is young and energetic more than me. So without wasting much of the time, I request C. Vijay Gupta ji for his welcome address to kindly give the words of blessings to the members present here for this today's session. Over to C. Vijay Gupta ji.
Thank you, Atulji. It is my privilege. So, hello. Yeah. So, I think dear Nilesh ji, Atulji, Shashikant ji, Dinesh Kumar ji, and Deven ji, I'm really thankful to all of you for making this webinar for the benefit of members of your region. So, it is my privilege because I belong to the Banda district. I educated in Agra and then I went for CA in Delhi. From Delhi, I had still my practice and consulting firm. And then in Canada, we have again our consulting firm. And I'm also basically founder chairman of a British Columbia chapter of ICI. We formed this chapter in 2013. And from 2013, there was only 25 members at that time. Now we have a more than 200 members. And during this journey, earlier, the finding of job and other things were very difficult for our members. But now with the chapter support and member support, we have created our branding here. And with the ICI branding, we have now been able to place almost all the chartered accountant in the industry in the respective job. So once the people are here, we take full responsibility. We help them. We try to make them as per Canada like society to make them how they can basically face the new challenges in the new world. So chapter is very aggressive and we have a very good team. Sonal is also one of our key member in the chapter and she has supported a lot. The chapter also, once you people are here and you decide to come here, then chapter also support for your coaching classes and other things. So detailed matter will be presented by Sonal, but my message as a senior member of a chartered accountant group is that we are basically belong to a very noble profession. And this profession has given us a social recognition as well as status. And Indian chartered accountant are the best known chartered accountant in the world. The institute with the formation of chapter abroad has created a good branding and chapter has been very helpful in creating professional opportunities in our members. In Canada, Indian chartered accountant has achieved a very high position. In addition to the finance and accounting head, we have CFO in multinational bank. We have a CFO in SBI Canada. We have, our members are CFO in large trading houses and also the CFO of a large non-profit organizations and funds. This country has a lot of opportunity for our members, provided like and also not only in the private sector. Our members are also in the public sector and in the government organization. So I would basically advise to the young members and for the other members two, three things. The young members should prepare well before immigration, as it is extremely costly and hunting job and studying at the same time. Once you come here, it's a costly country. You have to study as well as you have to do the job. So you should go for a soft skill training, create LinkedIn profile, obtain good knowledge of the Word, Excel, Visio, prevailing accounting standards, softwares, and you should be ready to adopt the culture as you will be working here in a multicultural atmosphere. Here, it is multicultural, no racism. Members in chapter in Canada are eager to help you in all possible way to establish you, whether it is a job, CPA examination, or for further career or professional related problems. For the firms, like who want to, though it is for a member of the young members, but still I get a lot of questions and a lot of things what the medium-sized firm and large-sized firm should basically get the professional opportunities here. So my advice to the firm who wish to explore the professional opportunity and wish to diversify, the opportunity are in existence in various fields. Other than traditional practice, opportunities are available in investigative and forensic audit, litigation and audit support services, commercial insurance and loss accounting, corporate payroll services, cloud bookkeeping services, and software development. One thing is very important to note that you should go for a specific field in which you have a expertise and you should create networking or association with a similar nature of the firm locally in Canada. And as I learned recently, that the institute is now allowing the multidisciplinary professional firms and also the networking rules have been changed. So I will suggest our small and medium firms to take advantage of this new changes as done by the institute. They should try to form a good networking with a firm, other firms, and also they should also try to have a multidisciplinary firm because here also the chartered accountants have a multidisciplinary. They work for a state duty, they work for a real estate, they work for a like here every firm has a specific field. No one want to go for a all like though we are a, a all rounder, but here the people prefer the practice and expertise in one field. So if we have a multidisciplinary firm, we have a lot of opportunities. So this is something like which our members should also take advantage. For professionals who wish to establish business, Canada West Coast is connect to Asia Pacific region with North America, provide easy and fast reliable access to the world market. It offers modern, cost-effective connection to global transportation and communication system. Our Pacific zone, I'm in Vancouver, this is a Pacific zone. Toronto is, and I'm a founder chairman of British Columbia chapter, not Canada chapter. Canada, Toronto has been earlier there. So our Pacific zone overlaps major commercial time zone, allowing convenient communication and scheduling. So for CA who wish to seek the business opportunities, information communication, clean technology, digital media, life science are emerging industries in British Columbia. And just for knowledge, the prominent global companies have built a history here, and new ones are open business every year. Even Amazon, Salesforce are expanding their base here in a large scale. So British Columbia business pays a combined general corporate tax of 27%. So there is a tax also among the lowest in G7 countries. There are various other credits are also available. Even in the Corona period, there was a full support to the business as well as the employees. So this is the best place for the business person also to establish their branches, their business. And one thing I will advise everybody, if you are coming, do prepare yourself to go for a CPA. Until unless you do the CPA, you are basically not getting the recognition what you deserve for it. And CPA is not a very difficult is the CA. So it is, once you try to do it to the CPA is one of the, it is the easiest for you, but you have to do it. And there are certain techniques for appearing it, for which chapter is there to help you. So with this, I would request, I'm again thankful to all of council member and attendees and everybody. And I'm looking forward to see the young members in Canada. This is a good country for living, for working, for safety, security, and other things. Though every country has something, but I advocate for the Canada. So if you people are willing to come, we are here to help you. So with this, I am thankful to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your words of wisdom. And friends, you will like you should understand. We started this program early in the morning at 9 o'clock because Vancouver is almost 12 and a half hour behind the India. So this time in Vancouver, I believe this might be around 9 o'clock. And considering the 9 o'clock in the late evening, so considering the situation, we started this program early in the morning at 9 o'clock. And the words of wisdom given by C. Vijay Gupta ji is really very important. And the very important things he also shared, like whenever you would like to go for any country outside India, we have to be committed. We should have the specialization on a particular subject, and we need to have core competence in a particular area. So now, without taking much of the time, as we have a learned speaker, CA Sunal Goel, with us, so I would like to invite CA Sunal Goel ji for her deliberation, especially for the young members, how they can proceed further. And I'm sure Sunal ji is going to cover even the immigration and PR process also. She will touch upon the immigration process and PR process also. So over to Sunal ji for her deliberation.
And for any help, they can write to the chapter. That is info@icivancouver.com. So they can write and chapter response very quickly. So
So
welcome to Sonal again. Thank you.
yeah, this is really a very wonderful initiative taken by Vancouver chapter under the leadership of CA Vijay Gupta ji, where he has suggested like he is there to help each and every member who is willing to go there and start his or her career in Vancouver or in Canada. They are going to be a mentor for you all. So now over to Sonal ji for her deliberation.
Thank you, Atulji. Thank you so much. Hi, friends. Like Atulji already introduced myself in the beginning of the session. So I'm Sonal. I am born and brought up in India, specifically, particularly from Jaipur. Did all my education everything from Jaipur, and then I moved to Delhi when I started my job with Ernst& Young, and I spent almost like 5 to 6 years with Ernst& Young before I moved to Canada. And the big reason leaving Ernst& Young was I was moving to Canada, which is a big step in life, but it was worth giving it a shot. Um, Today, we will be discussing a lot about what we need to keep in mind when we are planning to move to Canada. I know a lot of people actually think about, oh, can we start my career somewhere abroad? Which country will be a better option? Is it Canada? Is it US? Is it Australia? It could be a number of countries which can come in the option, and we keep thinking about, okay, which one should we choose? I cannot help you with which one you should choose, but I can actually give you a little background around what you need to consider when you're planning to move to Canada. And it's not only in terms of like, so I would like to share a presentation here. Maybe this will be a good start. When we actually plan to move Canada, we not only want to think about what are the opportunities here, how do we actually succeed in our career. It's also about which visa processes do we need to follow. So it's a combination, and we do not want to move from our own comfort zone to another country without thinking or understanding all these aspects. So, in this session, I will be trying to cover it in 4 parts, where we will be trying and talk about how do we immigrate to Canada via express entry visa. So, there are a lot of visa options, but we will be touching base a little bit on the express entry visa, which is quite a famous visa type of a structure, which usually people use to get to Canada. And then we will be talking about how the Indian chartered accountants can transition to the CPA structure in Canada. And trust me, like Vijay sir mentioned here, it's really important for an Indian CA to do convert their designation to CPA Canada if they have the plans to move to Canada or they are currently in Canada. It's the reason is your designation, if you do not have CPA designation, you will be missing on a lot of opportunities which you probably might be a perfect fit for. Then the third part of the session, we'll be talking about a couple of job search options. Most of the time, people think about, oh, we can easily find the jobs in Canada. It should be easy, but not without the right search tools. It's really important, and some of the things Vijay sir already discussed and he already talked about, specifically the references and the LinkedIn. And then the fourth part, which we'll be covering, is about the trend around the roles, how the financial and the accounting sector works here. It's not only the public accountant, it could be part of the corporate accounting or the financial service sectors. And what kind of salary estimates we probably look at. And these informations, these discussions are only for the information purposes. Um, so let's start with the first one, which is immigration to Canada via the express entry system. Now, first of all, we would like to understand and know what is it like, how do we think it's possible for us that we can fall under the category which Canada is actually looking the immigrants for? So Canada could be looking for multiple variety of people here. They could be skilled laborers, they could be traded workers, they could be the small business people, they could be the people who are planning to have their startups. It could be related to any stream, refugees, provincial nominations, a lot of variety. Now, Immigration of Canada actually announced last year in October 2020 that what are their plans for 2021, 2022, and 2023 in terms of getting the people in Canada. So in 2021, they're actually looking for getting almost like 400,000 immigrants to Canada. There is a whole list behind it. So we will talk about that list too. And then in 2022, they're planning to call 411,000 people. And 2023, they're planning for 421,000 people. Now, just a little thing to note here that the range for 2022 and 2023 will be confirmed and adjusted November during the November month of each year. So if 2022 needs to be planned for, it will be decided on 1st November on the exact targets they're looking for the next year. And I know like 2021, most part of the 2021 is already gone. So we are more considered concerned about 2022. Now, when they talk about like 400,000 they're willing to call to Canada, where do they define those 400,000 people? They're categorizing those people under different categories. So they say economically, how many people do we want to call? So they're saying we want to call 230,000 people approximately who falls into the categorization of economic. And then the family, in order to support your spouses, call your parents, grandparents, and other people who are part of your family, they are accepting 100,000 applications for 2021. And then similarly, there's refugees and then there is humanitarian and other programs. Now, the easiest and the reasonable program, which could be for most of the people who are already qualified and under the profession working, has job skills, experience. Federal high skilled is an option where they can actually opt for, and this actually has three kind of programs in there. Specifically, in the easy terminology, we call them express entry, which works based on comprehensive ranking system. And we'll talk about those things in detail in the future slides. Now, when we talk about the federal high skilled program, so this program in itself has three types of categorization. Now, what are those three types of categorization in this program? This program actually divides people with the skilled worker program, people with the traded program, and the people with the Canadian experience. There is a whole lot of details behind the three programs, and they say, okay, if you have these skills, you fall under this category. If you have this education qualification, you fall under this category. So, for example, like the Canadian experience class, it says by its name itself, if you have a Canadian experience, if you're already in Canada, if you're already working either part-time, full-time, anywhere in Canada, then you qualify under this program. Let's talk about in detail what are the differences between the three type of programs. Now, before we talk about the three type of programs, there's one thing which we actually want to learn about. Canada, when they actually do all the immigrations or when they actually look for all the qualifications, whether you qualify for the immigration purposes to Canada or not, the most important criteria they actually consider is the language skills. Now, when we talk about the language skills, they use a terminology called CLB, which is Canadian Language Benchmark. Now, the Canadian Language Benchmark is a standard which they use to describe or, let's say, measure or recognize the English language for an ability of an individual to live or work in Canada. So it's very important for us to have these skills. They judge these skills based on the four different classifications, which is like the writing skills, the reading skills, your listening, and your speaking skills. There are a couple of programs which are conducted all over the world, and based on those exams, you will be able to get a ranking which categorization you fall. So when we see like in the Canadian experience class, when they say English or French skill, CLB 7 if you have NOCO or A, and then CLB 5 if you have NOCB. Now, what is NOC? NOC is a National Occupation Classification. So this is a categorization code which Canadian follows, which where they say, okay, if I have this. So let's say, for example, in the Canadian market, you work with a zero type. So zero type they define as a management jobs. And then Canadian skill A, they define as a professional jobs. Then Canadian skill level B, they define as a technical job. So all these jobs have their own categorization and they have their own importance and the criticalness to each program. Federal Skilled Worker Program asks for CLB 7 straight. So if you have anything which is less than 7, you're not qualified for that program. And then Federal Skilled Trade Program says you're good if you have 5 in the speaking and listening, and you're good if you have 4 in the reading and writing, because they don't need that expertise in your English language. Now, before we move on to the type of level of experience we're looking for, we need to understand that Canada has 2 national languages. One is English, another is French. So if we talk about only English, it's fine. But if you want to talk about the immigration to certain places in Canada, which is specifically, let's say, for example, Quebec. Quebec is one of the province in Canada, but the province-wide language which is used is French. So, which is very important for us to understand that the both languages have equal importance, but it's not that you cannot survive without French here. You can, but it's always good to have another language as an experience. It adds to your profile. It adds to your CRS score. Now, the level of work experience which we look for is the Canadian experience, whatever experience you have, whether it's 0, A, or B, you are more than welcome to fall under the Canadian Experience Class Program. Now, if you have, and again, experience in one of the NOCs like 0, A, or B, then you will again fall under the Skilled Worker Program. So you do qualify for that. Not necessarily you have an experience in Canada, but you can have any worldwide experience under the category of 0, which is again management jobs, A, which is the professional jobs, and B, which is the technical jobs or the skilled trades jobs. Now, the Federal Skilled Trade Program talks about the experience in a skilled trade, which is under the category of B. Now, category B in itself, as the name says, it's the technical jobs and the skilled trades. So these are the 2 important criteria, which is important for us to understand how and which program of the express entry we can fall under. They also talk about what is the work experience you require. Like, definitely, if you're talking about the Canadian Experience Program, then it's really important for us to have a minimum of at least 1 year of experience in the last 3 years in Canada when we are applying for this program. Now, skilled worker program in itself, again, they have like in last 10 years, you should have combination of part-time or a full-time or one job, which is based on your primary occupation. So if you are a CA, your job should pertain to your qualification. But if you are a lawyer, no, I would say if you're a lawyer and you're working into the admin jobs, it doesn't qualify. So this is very important. We need to understand in the skilled worker program, because when you file for your immigration application, they actually ask you that which NOC are you falling under. And in there also, they have a huge list of segregation. Like even if you talk about, let's say, you're falling under professional jobs for the class NOCA, they will have a separate segregation under which defines which under NOCA you fall under the accounting and the finance classification. So these are small things, but these are important for us to understand when we are planning to file for an immigration. Now, job offers, they don't say it's required under any of the like either Canadian or under the full skilled worker program, but it's important under the trades. So the third program says that it is required that you should have a job offer in your hands. And the way the CRS system works, it's completely based on the points. So every category has its own points. So when you say about the language skill will have its own point. Then your education experience will have its own points, and then your work experience will count for different points. So at the end, when all these requirements are fulfilled, the total of those points are calculated together and see whether you qualify or you are actually invited to file for the permanent residency. So these are a couple of basic differences between the three programs which we should know. Now, how does this express entry whole thing works? Now, before we actually go and we try and understand how this express entry actually works, we need to know if we are even actually eligible for the express entry visa system. And how do we know that we are eligible to apply under the system is there is on the Canadian immigration website, everything is available. Every single thing is available on that website. So if you go on that website, they will have a small questionnaire for you, where you will be asked to answer certain questions. And the questions could be like, they will ask, what's your nationality? What is your age? So age is another big factor in calculating your points in your express entry application. And they say if you are a certain age, you will get this point. But if you fall after that particular age to another age, you will get another point. So younger, more points. As soon as and when you start getting older, your points decreases in the immigration system here. Now, they will also know what is your language ability. Now, again, we talked in the previous slides what language skills they're actually looking at. So when we say in the previous slide that they're looking for CLB 7, so CLB 7 could be calculated based on the different examinations which are actually organized all over the world. Could be in the form of IELTS, it could be in the form of TCF, TEF, anything. Now, so when we talk about CLB 7, it actually says it's a combination of how much you get in your reading, how much you get in your speaking, how much you get in your writing, and how much you get in your listening. It's a consolidated score which is looked at, and then that says that you fall under that category and you get the points according to that. And then they can actually have evaluation based on whether you have any job offer, yes, no, if you have any work experience, do you have any Canadian work experience, do you have work experience in your primary occupation, do you have any family members who are existing in Canada, or do you want any family members to accompany you? These are some kind of basic questions which they ask to evaluate if you're actually eligible to apply under the express entry visa system. Now, they talk about that, yes, in the step 1, say if in the step 1, if they say yes, you are eligible, then they will go back and they will say, okay, here you go, you're eligible. Now, these are the documents which you actually go back and you have to start preparing yourself for. They don't say when you're actually creating your profile, you don't have to submit those documents right away. We'll talk about those documents a little bit in the next slide, so I'm not covering those points in here. The third point is you have to submit your profile. Now, what do you have to, when you have to submit your profile, you have to make sure that you actually, you have to make sure that you actually have a score. So how does it work is, the Canadian immigration actually have an online tool where you can actually go back and start filling in all the information which we talked about in the previous question. So the previous step 1 was saying whether you're eligible or not, but in the step 3, they're again asking you the similar information. Now you're filling in this information just to see how much score, how much points you're gathering based on each information. Are you married? Yes, no. Do you have any kids who will accompany you? How much proof of how much funds you will accompany with you, or how much funds can you prove that you have with you? What education qualification you have, and then they can talk about what is your language skills. It's the same thing repetitively now, but they are asking these things in a little much detail. They will be getting all these information in more detail when they will start evaluating your documents. So when you answer all those questions, then you get a particular score. And that score defines whether, so what CRS is a comprehensive ranking system, where let's say, for example, you got a score of 400 points. So that 400 points will define whether you will be receiving an invitation from the Canadian immigration to apply under the express entry for your permanent residency visa. Now, let's say the immigration actually had a CRS score cutoff of 420, and your score is 400 points. You wouldn't qualify to get an invitation from the immigration. So you have to wait until you get the cutoff down. The government gets the cutoff down and you fall under that cutoff, or there is a way you can increase your score. So the way you can increase your score, let's say, for example, you're getting points, 5 points because of your language, but the maximum points under the language you can gain is 15. So you need to reappear or reevaluate whether you should go and appear for your exam again to get a higher score, to get more points towards your maximum touch. So let's say, for example, you got 5 and 15 is the highest in the language. It means that you still have that 10 points which you can cover in your language. So that helps. So from 400, you get to 410 if you appear for your exam again. But it totally depends. Recently, the CRS score is pretty low. I think it's moving somewhere in 300 points somewhere, which is like significantly low, and everybody can easily qualify to fall under that. Specifically, when we talk about the qualified chartered accountants, because you actually do get quite a lot of points in your education and your experience, work experience. So that's the part. Now, the fourth step is as soon as you qualify under your CRS, you get you receive an invitation from the Canadian Immigration, and they define a list of all the documents which they want you to submit. So those documents we will see in the next slide what those documents are, which they can usually ask you to submit. It's a whole list. This is not a limited list. They can ask anything from anywhere, but not restricted to this. So first, most important document you need is your passport. You need to make sure you have a proper passport with all the pages in there, with a clear, if you have traveled in and out to various countries, you have to have a clear visas. So that is very important. Then your language test results. We already talked in the previous slide. It's one of the very critical aspects for qualifying in the immigration, because they want to make sure what is your ability to live and work in Canada. Are you able to communicate in English? Are you able to communicate in French? Are you able to survive in Canada with those language skills? That is very important to be able to fall under the express entry. What is the proof? So they would, if you have your Canadian education in Canada, so if you have a Canadian education, they would want a proof of that Canadian education. Now, it's not like easy, just you pull out your documents and you just send them. No, you have to get an assessment on your education documents from the third party. And that third party is usually like, for the most common third party, which is used as WES, they actually ask for all the documents from all your education background. So let's say, for example, you say you have ICA, so you have done CA from ICAI. They would want all your documents in a sealed envelope sent to them directly so that they can evaluate and they can make sure that nobody actually tempered the documents. So that is one of the most time-consuming and cumbersome task I felt when I filed for my process. And then if you have a provincial nomination, they would want the whole documentation around the provincial nomination just to make sure you actually do fall under the provincial nomination categorization. Provincial nomination actually helps in building or getting additional points because you already are nominated by a particular province, and that province is actually calling you as to apply for a PR in that particular province. So let's say, for example, you are in British Columbia and you got a nomination from British Columbia, you will be able to work in British Columbia for a particular time period. There are certain conditions to provincial nomination, but it's way too detailed, so I'm not going to touch base that. If you have any job offer from the employer in Canada, that will be very helpful, because I remember when I applied for the express entry back in 2016, 2017, there were 600 points if you had a job in Canada or you had a Canadian job experience. So it's a lot. That time they used to do the scaling on 1200, and 600 points were straight away for the Canadian experience. So if somebody who doesn't have a Canadian experience or doesn't have a job offer already from the Canada, 600 points were already gone. Now you're evaluating yourself on the remaining 600 points where your age, education, work experience, your marital status, all those things helps in getting you the points. They also need your proof of funds. So when I talk about proof of funds here, this is something they want to evaluate you, that you do have a capacity to come to Canada and bear for your expenses in case you're not getting the job right up front. This is one of the reasons, but there are other reasons also for them. Now, when the proof of funds could be anything. It could be your asset related to your, let's say, for example, you have a property. It could be your car. It could be your. So it has to be. It could be any fixed deposits. It could be anything. Wherever you have your investments, either you have your investments in the stock market, whatever you have, everything is counted in your proof of funds, netted off your liabilities. So if you have a loan against your house, it has to be reduced. If you have a loan against your vehicle, it has to be reduced. So it's just an education loan, anything, whatever liability you have in your name, everything has to be reduced. So short, nutshell, it's your net worth. So you have to tell them, you have to show them with your documents that this is what I stand for. This is what my worth is, and I should be able to support myself or any of the family members who are accompanying me to Canada with this amount. Now, they would also require the PLUS certificates. Now, PLUS certificates could be for anything. So let's say, for example, you lived in a certain place. So if you lived in India, from India will work. But if you lived in another country, so there is a condition if you lived in any other country for more than 6 months period or 4 months period, depending on which visa you're applying for, which category it falls, they require a certain time period. If you lived in any other country, they need a police clearance from that country also. So if you have an international experience or you travel internationally for work purposes, you have to make sure that you do still have the contacts or you know people who can help you with the police clearance for that country. Medical exams, but usually the medical exam report comes in when you get the invitation. They actually give you the time when you can go back and you can get all your medical tests done. Now, one thing which is important for the medical test is they will give you a list of the hospitals or the doctors who are actually qualified and are assigned by the Canadian government that they can do your testing. Nobody else can do that. So there is a whole list by the Canadian Immigration with the name of the hospitals and specifically the doctors. So if it's in hospital, they have their own procedures with processes which they can follow, and they can actually help the people to get their medical reports. And they will send the reports directly to Canada Immigration. We don't have to send them; they send it directly. So we just get the medical report number, and then they get the information all directly from the doctors. Similarly, they will need your birth certificate. In case you're married, they will need your marriage certificate. If you're divorced, they will need your divorce certificate, separation agreements. And if somebody deceased, let's say, for example, you're a lady and your husband died, then you will need to provide the death certificate or vice versa. So these are the kind of some documents which the government actually looks for, and they evaluate you based on all these documents. So even if you say you have all the you qualify in the score and the ranking system, but you're not able to prove or you're not able to support those with your documents, you will not be able to qualify for the permanent residency. They will reject your application, which will not be good. So when you're filling in your profile, you have to be very careful what you're filling in. And you always should give the right information, not something which contradicts with something else, and you're not able to justify at a later stage. I do understand and I do agree that people do have chances where they can make the errors while filling in the information. So you can actually, at the end, when you have filed in all your documents, when you send all the documents, along with those documents, you can send a letter of explanation, where if you're making any corrections or you want to explain them something to clarify or easily understand your documents further, you can put those informations in. For example, in my case, all my appointment letter for the work experience from Ernst & Young were in the name of SRBC and Company. Like most of you, I am hoping that people know that Ernst & Young in itself doesn't work in the audit field with the name of Ernst & Young. They work with a lot of multiple companies like SRBC and Company, SR Bharti and Associates. Similarly with all the Big Fours, it's not just with Ernst & Young. So your appointment letter and other documents will be in those companies' name, not in the name of Ernst & Young. So when I filled in my profile, I put Ernst & Young instead of putting the SR Bharti and SRBC and Company. So I filed an application where I explained them the Ernst& Young, these are all the connected entities, and I gave them all the links from the website, the Ernst& Young website where they actually appears on there, and then explain them that all the documents are in this name, but the main internationally recognized name is the Ernst& Young. So it was just a small example which can help people understand, okay, there could be errors and we can explain those errors. If they are justifiable, they can be accepted. So these were all the thoughts which I wanted to put in for the express entry. I know this is just the high level touch base of the things. If anybody has any questions, you can ask me. So before I move to the CPA part of this. You can leave your questions on the panel in the chat box, and I should be able to go through there. So Azhar is asking one question here, where Azhar is saying, is CA equals to masters in WES evaluation? So Azhar, no, CA is not equals to the masters in the WES evaluation. Indian CA is equivalent to 4 years of bachelor's degree in the WES. So yeah, it doesn't comprises of the masters, but you do fall under the category if you have the BCom and you have the CA, you fall under the category where you have 2 or more degrees and your points increases with the 2 or more degrees. Okay, so I don't see any other question. I see one more question, which is coming from Sayed, and he's asking how an Indian CA can get a job in Canada with a shorter span. So Sayed, in the third and the fourth part of this presentation, I will be covering more aspects on the job. So I should be able to answer your question better during that particular session. So please do come back to me with your question again when I'm covering that particular part. Sandesh is asking how to decide whether to apply for the express entry and skills program. There is not really a good way of deciding anything. It's just that which category or which visa is easier for you to apply. There are a lot of visas here. I will actually go back on the previous slide and then I'll show you something here. So when you see the federal business here, so federal business is for the small startups or anybody who is already in the business. So these are the opportunities which are existing. There could be any visa you can apply for. Somebody who is trying to apply under the express entry for the federal high skill probably are not falling under the category where they're actually gaining the sufficient CRS points. So in that case, you can try and look for the provincial nominee program. So there's no exact way to say which program will be better. It's just that which program you qualifies the best and helps you come to Canada is the one which you can choose. Then I have another question which is coming from Web of Kalal. Any virtual opportunities for India from Canada? So again, Vaibhav, I will be able to cover these questions when I'm covering the job part, because job part is very, very different in Canada, the way we try and actually think the job environment in India. So we will go a little bit in detail in the, on this part, because I know everybody would want to know a lot about the jobs here. It's not easy to move to Canada if you have no idea how the job market here is. So we will cover up those questions in the job session. Shiman is saying, ma'am, I'm a chartered accountant and a postgraduate, want to go to Canada. Definitely, you can anytime apply for the visa. You can start looking for the job sitting there, and you should be able to come here. Like you're saying, you're a postgraduate, which in itself gives you an additional education qualification to apply under the express entry. And then you have a CA, like I mentioned, CA qualifies for the 4 years of the bachelor's degree under the WES, and then master's depends whether you have done the full-time or you have done as a part-time. How do we call the evening something? I forgot. I'm so sorry. But yeah, it depends the way you have done your master's in India. It depends on that. You will get the master's. So if you have the master's and then you have two and more degrees, you will get a good CRS score, which will help you increasing your scores. So definitely, if higher the CRS score, higher your chances falling under the cutoff, and then qualifying and submitting your documents for the immigration purposes.
Sonalji would like to intervene in between.
Sure.
As per the UGC, University Grant Commission in India, CA
Mhm.
equivalent to postgraduate.
So Atulji, the difference is like we talked in the beginning when we were starting this session. How does CA Canada recognizing Indian CA,
Okay.
right?
Right.
So it's an agreement. It's a memorandum of understanding between the two between the two institutes.
Okay.
So
Great.
that is why the categorization differs here.
Right.
And
Right.
everybody should note here that it's most of the time the information on the websites gets confusing when you look at the WES. They will say you have to give in all your mark sheets. They don't talk about you give your degrees. So don't miss that. Even if they don't talk about your degrees, please make sure submitting your degrees here. So uh, PE1, PE2, whatever the core structure of the CA right now, whatever exams you give, all your exams, mark sheets, all your certificates of those exams, and your degree. This is a combination of the pack. You have to send it to WES for your evaluation. So if you miss your degree, you will not fall under the category of the bachelor's. So this is very important to keep a note of. Um, so, Atulji, I have a lot of questions coming in here. So, do you want me to take all the questions right now, or should I continue with the session?
As per your convenience. As per your convenience. From my
So let's
limit of time as well.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
There's a lot which I would like to cover. I would really want all the members to know about. So let's cover the remaining slides right now, and then we will go back at the end of the session and we'll see how much we can cover.
Sure.
Okay. Um, So now we're going to talk about the transitioning to CPA designation for Indian CAs. This is really very important for all of us. We spent n number of years educating ourselves and getting us up to speed and getting the designation for the chartered accountancy in India. Now what? We are planning to move to Canada. Will we be able to get the exact designation what we already have in India and Canada? Or do we have to go back and start studying everything again, just like the doctors and the engineers, not the engineers, I shouldn't say that, or the lawyers, everybody does. So let's see how this transition actually works here. Now, immigration to Canada, this is actually a very important part where CPA Canada and ICI India actually did put in a lot of efforts and went back and finalized a memorandum of understanding between the two institutions. And they actually went back and they said that based on this based on this memorandum of understanding, there are certain exemptions which we are ready to give to the Indian chartered accountants, which could be in terms of your work experience or in terms of your education or the exams. But they say they will only be able to give those exemptions if you are a member of good standing. Now, what does it mean that you're a member in good standing with the ICAI? This is very important actually. We most of the times, and I've seen a lot of people doing this thing, people will attain their qualification but they will not pay their membership on time, or they will not complete their CPE hours on time. I know this session also qualifies for CPRs, so this will give you two CPRs, but CPRs completion is very important. So CPA Canada requires ICAI to send them the letter of good standing from ICAI directly to the CPA. They don't want, so if I'm a member and if I'm asking for a letter of good standing to the institute has to issue it directly to the CPA chapter. They cannot issue it to me and then I cannot give it to the CPA Canada. They have to issue directly to the CPA Canada. You have to mention it, Jan, in your form requesting the letter of good standing. And it's a standard process with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So they know the whole process. They do it every day in and out. So they can issue the letter of good standing based on that. Now, they will issue the good standing letter only if you have requested directly to the Institute and you have your name as an active member in their list. Your name will not be an active member. You will not fall under the active member if you have not completed your CPE hours. So make sure you're completing your CPE hours, whether you're in practice or in job, based on the requirement, you have to complete those hours. And then you should pay your membership fees annually on time, because if you do not pay your membership fees on time again, then you're not active. So these are the certain criteria which you should be up to date with them for Institute to be able to give you or issue you a letter of good standing. And without letter of good standing, you will not be able to register with the CPA Canada. So this is really important and critical aspect. I know there are a lot of people who already moved to Canada in BC, and they are now looking forward to do their CPA designation, but they actually didn't do their CPRs on time, or they didn't pay their membership on time. So they actually did struggle to get their letter of good standing. And then I know, like Vijay sir, he himself actually helped a lot of members to get their letter of good standing by helping them qualify and complete their all the pendings and outstanding items. There is a link here, which is Certificate of Good Standing, which takes you directly to the website of the Chartered ICAI, and where you will see the whole details regarding what is the requirements and what are the forms which needs to be filled in. Before, it used to be only the PDF forms which you can fill in and then scan and send it to the email address, but now you can file it online also with all the changes ICAI has done recently. Now let's understand what is the structure of the CPA program here. It's not similar to how we do it in India. It's very much different. The examination pattern is different. The structure is different. Everything is different. Their practical experience is different. So when we look at this whole program here, this program bifurcates into two parts. One, it stays with the Western School of Business, which is the one central standard body of the CPA. And then there is a CPA provincial body, which is based on each province. So it could be British Columbia, it could be Ontario, it could be Alberta, it could be any province. So all the CPA program, the base start of the CPA program is the preparatory courses, where you have 14 requisite courses which needs to be finished. And the way the education system works here is they talk about the credits you get. Now, let's say you completed your accounting examination, you will get certain credit for that accounting exam. You gave your exam for, let's say, financial management, you will get certain credit for that paper. So number of papers you clear, the number of credits you get. The certain level of credits is required for you to be able to enter in the Canadian CPA program. Now, as soon as you have completed your CPA preparatory courses, it takes you to CPA Western School of Business, where they actually conduct a part of your exams. So exams are overviewed and managed by the Western School of Business, and the practical experience is managed by the provincial bodies. So in the exam, there are two parts to it. One is the PEP, which is called the Professional Education Program. And then another one is the CFE, Common Final Examination. This here is very important for us, and I will discuss in the future slides why it's important. Now, once you're done with your PEP, there is a slight two aspects here, which is a capstone 1 and a capstone 2. Now, capstone 1 and capstone 2 is not from the passing point of view, but those two programs are significantly important for you to be able to appear in your common final examination. So once you're done with your CFE and everything, Simultaneously, what is going on is your practical experience. Now, if you're actually starting from the straight hair course, you can already qualify and start working for your practical experience. This is a 30-month experience. We will discuss about this again in the next slides. So once you qualify and you get all of these things, that's when you get your CPA designation. Now, which ones do we actually have to do? Because we know there is a CPA Canada, between the CPA Canada and the ICAI, there is an MOU. So with that MOU, they actually helps us and they tells us, no, you don't have to do everything. Because you already have your qualification in India, you already have your designation in India, we will help you convert your designation in Canada only if you fulfill certain things. So let's look at what those things are. Now, the exemptions which are provided under the MOU to the ICI members in terms of education, they say we are exempt from all the exams with exception to common final examination. That's why I said in my previous slide, common final examination, CFE, is important for us. This is what we want to understand in detail for ourselves, that how can we actually work towards getting a designation is by preparing for this exam and looking for our practical experience. So we don't have to do any preparatory courses. We don't have to appear for the PAP. And we do not even have to appear for the capstone 1 and capstone 2. Everything is exempt. So you should be aware that MOU, which is signed recently, actually made capstone 1, capstone 2, and the practical experience exempt. Like in the previous MOU, they were supposed to be covered by the chartered accountants. But in Canada, Canada panel did an amazing job, and I know Vijay you were part of it. You guys already did an amazing job by getting the capstone 1, capstone 2, and the practical experience exam here. So it's a very good thing for the Indian chartered accountants because they don't have to go through the whole pain of doing the CPA designation here. They have to just do a certain part of it. And from the certain part, I mean they have to appear for your CFE examination, which is the final examination for the CPA. Now, if we look for the next one, which is the experience. Now, the experience, what do we have to do? So normally in the Canada, for the CPA Canada, the experience comprises of multiple parts where they say you have to cover 30 months of training. And then you have to have a certain technical and enabling competencies. And they also say that you should have a proper mentorship. So when you're doing a practical experience here, there are certain criteria which is followed, and they actually tell you, okay, you have to fulfill these criteria, you have to have this much tax experience, you have to have this much audit experience, you have to have this much corporate accounting experience, and all sort of a combination of things. But with this MOU, we do not need to have this experience if we have more than 5 years of experience post qualification and no recognized university degree, then we are exempt from all the assessments of the experience, exempt from all the practical experience based on the documents and the work experience or the resume we are submitting explaining our work experience to the CPA Canada. If you do have a post recognized degree or the post qualification degree or the recognized university degree, you do not need to have more than 5 years of experience. You need only 2 years of experience. So if you have 2 or plus years of experience, you are again exempt based on the assessment. So CPA BC will ask for your detailed resume and they will say, okay, give us this document. We will go through it and we will evaluate what type of experience you have. And that normally should tie back based on what you have actually done in your home country or any other international country or in the Canadian market. They will evaluate and they will say, okay, if you do qualify on based on those specific experiences, they will exempt you and they will give you the CPA designation. So this is all about the experience here, and as and when you gain the experience, you get your designation converted, and voila, you are a CPA designated in Canada. Then, okay. Now, to understand the CFE structure a little bit in detail here, so there is this exam is very not similar to the way we have seen the final exams in India. In India, we actually focus more on the technical aspects of each and every topic we're trying to cover, whether it's accounting, financial management, assurance, anything. We try and cover more or less on the technical aspects. But in the Canadian education place here, we are not only trying to they're not only trying to evaluate based on the technical experience, but they're actually trying to put us together and see how we actually do perform in the real life scenarios. So they actually give us the cases and they tell you XYZ things and they ask you to evaluate those cases. They ask you to find out certain circumstances in those cases and then work on those cases. Now, CFE examination is bifurcated into 3 days. India, I know it's an 8-day exam, but here it's just a 3-day exam, but a lot different from India. Now, in the day one exam, they actually do like to test your critical thinking and the decision making skills. The day two and the day three, they actually would like to test your depth knowledge about particular areas, which is like accounting, financial management, and your elective subject, which could be anything. You chose assurance, you choose taxation, you choose performance management, whatever you choose, whatever field you want to get into. So you choose based on that. And then day three is a day where they evaluate you on every aspect, but a little bit overall. So they say you should know all of these. I know you're not selecting tax as your elective, but you should know a bit about tax. It's not that you don't know anything about tax and you're gone and you just got your CPA designate. No, you have to be aware a little bit of all the technical aspects, which is important for you to survive in the Canadian CPA market. Now, this is a small summary of the day one, day two, and the day three examination, where they actually judge us based on the assessment opportunities. So every case will have certain assessment opportunities. So when we talk about assessment opportunities, these are the case where you have a certain condition and they will ask you to work on that condition and evaluate your technical or your decision making skills. Now, one thing I do want to add here with the CPA designation, even though you qualify your CPA designation, doesn't mean you qualify to be able to practice in Canada. To be able to practice in Canada, you have to go back and write certain separate examinations and you have to fulfill certain other requirements for that. So once those are done, once you get the certification for the practicing, then you can practice. But only with CPA designation, you cannot practice. So you have to make sure that you do understand these aspects. If somebody is into practice and they're planning to come to Canada, they have to consider this also in mind. So this is all I have for the CPA, where you will be able to actually get your CPA designation in Canada. And like we just are really mentioned at the way beginning, it's important for everyone if you really want to nurture your career in Canada, if you really are looking forward towards the growth in Canada in your career aspects, if you're looking forward to your future in Canada, you should spend some time, efforts on getting the CPA designation. BC chapter, I know about the BC chapter because I'm part of the BC chapter. I'm sure other chapters are doing the same thing in Canada, but BC chapter actually do certain things here to make sure that their members are getting the right type of guidance, the right type of information and the knowledge and the training which is required to appear for the CFE examination to get their CPA designation. Like, for example, I will mention we have a whole panel who sits and who talks about and who mentors and who guides the people who are appearing for their CFE examination, a particular exam, and guides them how you should actually study for your CFE. We don't want you to study 100% from the beginning. We want you to do the smart study to get your designation. We don't want you to just read everything, whatever is written in the books. So we have a panel, we have the markers who are part of the BC chapter and who are actually trying to help the new members or the existing members of the chapter. So there are certain support which I'm sure all the chapters are providing to their members to help them nurture in their career, to get their CPA designations, to get the jobs in the market. So yeah, if you have anything on these type of questions, I'll be happy to answer your CPA related questions now. And I can see there are a lot of questions which came in here. Let me see. Okay. So Azhar asked, recently in India, UGC declared Indian CAs as a master's. So is there a possibility of changes in WES? Definitely, there is a possibility that WES might upgrade the qualification for the for 4 years of bachelor's to, I'm not sure what they will mark it as, but it will be known only when either we can connect with the WES and see what they actually qualify that under, or we can wait for the evaluation to come. But one thing which WES actually does, it's a very standard process. If one qualifies for a particular level of the WES assessment, everybody qualifies for the same. It's not like one is getting another and another one is getting another assessment. So it's a standard assessment. And it goes exactly the same. Now, there's another question which is from Shiman Gilhotra. Part-time postgraduate, is it compulsory to do CPA Canada? It's not mandatory to do CPA Canada. It's a matter of choice, how you want to proceed in your career. If you actually want to grow in your career, the only way you can get the higher designations in Canada is when you do your CPA designation. Because most of the positions here, specifically from the positions I'm talking about, managers and above, most of the industries or the practicing public industry, they look for people who are designated CPAs because you're serving in the CPA in the Canadian market. So they want you to have the designation from Canada. And if you're competing with somebody who's actually Canadian and has all their educations and everything in Canada, this is the best way to compete with them. Otherwise, they already have the qualification. They already have the people with those skill set, right? So it's a matter of choice. Now, Sheenam is again asking, after post-graduation from C2 years of experience, it totally you're doing your education from and how you're doing it full-time or you're doing it part-time. It totally depends on that. So it's a WES assessment. It's pretty standard. They do it based on all the standards they get from the Canadian immigration. Devendra Kumar, sorry, it's a membership number. Sayed is asking, is there any coaching center in India for CFE exams? Any assistance for those in India planning to do CFE exams? How to prepare for now who's planning to come, say, in 6 months? So it's a good question, and I know most of the people would like to know the answers for this one. I am sure there are institutes, there are people who are actually coaching people in India also. It depends how much are you ready to spend on those coachings, how much you're ready to actually work towards those coachings. Those coachings are not reasonable. And specifically when you're moving to Canada, you're already spending a lot of money. So you should evaluate how much it's possible for you to spend on that. There are certain things which chapter does, and chapter contributes to prepare the people. They do provide the private coachings. Like for example, I know BC chapter does provide the coachings here, but they don't want the members to pay the high fees. So what they do is they actually try and become a part, or they do some kind of an agreements with the coaching institutes and say, if they are our members, you have to give them a certain level of discount, which is really beneficial for the people. And then they also say that we do have a person in our panel who actually evaluates, who is part of the marking team for the Canadian CPA. So they So those are the options which could be useful for the people. But if you do want to spend time on the act and the price on the actual private coachings, then yes, there are certain private coachings which I'm aware of the Canadian. I'm not aware about the coachings available in India, but for the Canada, there are certain very well-known coaching institutes which are called Densmore or Pass Your CPA. So Pass Your CPA is one which is specifically for the Indian chartered accountants to prepare them for the Canadian CPAs. Densmore is more towards like covering all type of people who are trying to appear for a CPA exam. So you do want to look at. If you want, we can send you the links for the Densmore and the Pass Your CPA. You can actually look at, and then you can evaluate how much it's worth going for those, or you actually want to have a mentor who can guide you through to prepare for your exams. And then there is a question which is from Sony, and there, should we do CPA Canada before moving there, as we don't know which state we get migrated to? You actually, in order to do the CPA, again, you have to choose the province from where you want to do the CPA. CPA is not like a centralized exam 100%. It's a provincial type of an exam. So if you say you're registering with the CPA BC, then the registration process is different. But if you're registering with CPA Ontario, then the registration process is a little different. The evaluation of the documents is a little different. I don't know which one is simpler. I did through BC. I found it simple. People who are doing from Ontario, they will find it simple. But even if you want to do the CPA, you have to come to Canada to give your exam. So either you come as a permanent resident or either you come as a student visa. You have to be in Canada. Okay, so these were the questions which we had on the CPA. We can move on to the next part of our discussion, which is on the job search and the opportunities, which I know a lot of people might be waiting for. So job search in Canada, how do we do a job search in Canada? It's not exactly the same type of a job search which you'll do in India, that you go on a particular website, you just apply and you get the job. No. Canadian job market works a little different way. So for example, some provinces like Toronto is a hub of the corporate market. BC is a kind of a place where you will find a lot of small and medium-sized firms who are just family-grown businesses, and they're working their own, and little corporates, not a big corporates here. Alberta could be the one where you can find a lot of opportunities related to mining and others. So it depends on which province you're actually looking for a job in. Now, if, for example, you're looking for a job in BC, most of the jobs you will not find on the websites. People don't even open them in public. What they actually do is, if let's say I am a one who is actually looking for, so I'm currently hiring in my team. I'm looking for a person to be hired in my team. I haven't opened it publicly. What I did was I actually went through, I know Vijay sir, I asked him, sir, do you have anybody you want to refer me to? I'm happy to interview. So these are the way those people actually work. So reference is something which is really important. Networking is very, very, very important. More you do the networking, more you make the connections, more you get the references, and more you're able to touch to the job opportunities which people are not even aware of. And trust me, the job I am currently in, I found it from the person who was actually sitting next to me, and she was asking all about my experience from India. And then she said, I have an opportunity you probably might be interested in. It's not available on the job market. It is something you want to look at by just sending an email on this particular email address. And I was like, oh my God, she's bluffing. I don't know what she's even talking about. But really, it worked. She followed up with me for a week, and then I finally, on her request, I sent my resume, and it was an actual job which was open in the company, but it was just not available publicly. So you really want to have referencing done. You really want to have a strong networking. Do not hesitate. Try and meet as much as people you can, talk to them, make connections, and find out about the opportunities. Now, what are certain job search engines which you can use in order to find the jobs? Like, there's a very commonly used website, which is called Indeed. So when you will go on Indeed, it will give you a certain type of availability of the jobs. Since when this job is open, how many people already applied to that job? What are the requirements on that particular job? Um, they will also tell you what are the current expectations or what are the current market trends or the pay scales for that particular job, which you everybody probably might be interested in because being new to Canada, we're not aware about what to expect. We will just say, okay, whatever you're going to give. We're not able to negotiate because we're not aware about the market. LinkedIn. LinkedIn, having a strong profile on LinkedIn will take you a long way. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, that will significantly help you. Create your LinkedIn profile, connect people. If you see any job, if you see there is anybody who is working with that particular company, connect with those people, ask them to refer you. So these are the places where you can actually go back and start finding for the job. Then another one is like Monster. So there are a lot of search engines which you can use and go back and start finding those jobs. But certain agencies who are really big in Canada and who really help a lot of chartered accountants find the jobs in the right role, the biggest one in Canada is the Robert Half. Robert Half has an expertise finding the finance, accounting and finance professionals. They do work in the other fields also, but their expertise in accounting and finance. They work with a lot of Indian chartered accountants who come here who doesn't have a CPA designation. They try their best to get them the right job opportunity. But again, their hands are tied because the requirement from the industry or the people who are hiring, the recruitment manager, they are looking for the CPAs. You are CA, that's amazing. You are hardworking, that's amazing. But in addition to that, what they're looking is your CPA designation. So that is also equally important. Another one is Randstad, then Impact Recruitment, Hayes, Strive. So if you go on these websites, if you filter top 10 best recruitment agencies in Canada, you will find these companies in there. Just go in there, research a little bit, try and find out the type of jobs which are available. And make sure when you're actually finding those jobs, if they say that they're looking for only Canadian CPAs, there is no way you want to apply for those jobs because the recruitment manager doesn't want to see anybody who's not a CPA. But if they say that they're hiring for India, they are hiring for Canadian CPA or equivalent, when they say or equivalent, they probably might consider the international designations there. So that is something you want to keep an eye on. So whatever they have in the job description or whatever they have in the qualifications requirements, please refer to those very carefully because those are the things that will tell you whether you're eligible to apply for that job or not. And another thing which you want to keep in mind is it's not one standard resume you will prepare for all the jobs. No, you have to amend your resume based on the requirement of the job. So let's say at what you have an experience of the whole full cycle accounting, but the job is for the accounts receivable manager. You don't want to show your whole full cycle accounting experience. You do want to show your experience there, but not focused on the full cycle. You want to focus your experience on the accounts receivable role there. Example, because most of the filtration is done based on the smart intelligent tools. So if you don't have those keywords in your resume, you will not be shortlisted. And if you're not shortlisted, you will not be called for an interview. So these are small things, but these are very important for you to be able to actually keep in mind when you're preparing your resume, when you're applying for a particular job. The next thing which we actually want to know what is important here is the key skill sets. So what are the key requirements? What are the skills the Canadian market is looking for? I divided them into two categories. One is the soft skills, and the other one is the technology. So when we talk about soft skills, they want you to work in the independent environment. The Canadian market is not like they want to micromanage you. They don't want to micromanage you. If they're hiring you for a particular role, they're expecting you know how to do your job. They will explain you the technicalities of the job, but they will not hold your hand and make you write everything. So they want you to be independent enough to start working on that role. they want you to have attention to details. This is very important in the finance role here. If you're bilingual, it's not necessary you have to have like English or French both, but having English, solid English is really important. Um, French is very important if you're looking for a jobs in Quebec. If you don't know French, most of the jobs will be NA not applicable for you. You cannot even apply for those jobs because it's the main language they use there. Then how much are you comfortable with the changes? Most of the company, let's say for example, if there is a small scale or a medium company who's working, most of the time they're looking to upgrade themselves to grow in the market. So they're trying to upgrade themselves. They're looking for people who are able to accept the changes and they're able to implement those changes with them. Are you really open to learn with time? Again, you will be able to tell them you're open to learn if you're doing your CPA. Yes, I'm open to learn new things. So there are a lot of those things which are required in here. And then similarly in technology terms, we might be working with a lot of tools in India, but those might not be applicable in Canada. One of the biggest tools, which is a very small tool, but still widely used in Canada, is the QuickBooks or Zero. If you know those tools, you can apply anywhere in the small to medium sized firms. But if you want to apply in the bigger firms, you would want to know like SAP, Oracle, Dynamics. These are the tools you would want to know. Then you would like to know what are the Payworks tools here. Some of the Payworks tools is like Citizen, ADP, Payworks. Those are the type of tools which are pretty familiar, pretty available in the market, and people would expect you to know those tools. I don't want you to start spending in learning those tools, but keep in mind that whenever you get an opportunity to learn those tools, start learning those. Don't ignore them. This is important to survive in the Canadian market. So this is, I hope this is what helps you in actually looking for the jobs in the Canada. Now, Sandesh is asking how important is the work X criteria mentioned in the job description? It's very important. Your work experience is very important in the job description. Like if job descriptions tells five certain things and you don't have those five things, you have just one, you better not apply for that job because the recruitment manager is looking for those skills in there. They want you to work on those skills. Also, what are the prospects for the CAs pursuing CFA? There is quite a wider market for the CFAs also in Canada. So if not CPA, CFA is a good qualification too. You will be able to get quite a lot of job opportunities available for you in Canadian market too. Yeah, like analytical business analyst. Generally, CFAs are the ones they're looking for those roles. Any other questions? Or I can move to the last part and then we can see whatever are the left questions.
I believe let's move for the last part of the slide and then we'll go for all question answers.
Sure, Atulji, definitely. Now the last part is what is the trend around the roles here? What are the active roles which people are looking for? So one thing which we really want to understand here is even though we are chartered accountants from Canada, but it's not 100% recognized in Canada. India. It's not 100% recognized in Canada. So what happens is if we're applying for a certain role, they will say if you have a CPA designation, you probably will qualify the managerial roles and upwards. Two criteria they actually look for in the Canadian market. Do you have any Canadian experience? Do you have a CPA designation? So if you have a Canadian designation, you can actually still try and make your way upwards. If you do not have Canadian experience and you do not have a CPA designation, you have to really start from the base. It's luck if you can actually start from a higher role, but it doesn't happen with everyone. So you have to be mentally prepared with that. The positions which are actually in demand in the Canadian market is based on, so there are a couple of reports which keeps getting released over a period of time by multiple recruitment agencies. And this is one of the recruitment agencies who did the survey for 2020 statistical data. And they issued this report and they said there are certain positions which are highly in demand, specifically like accounts receivable and the payable clerk, billing clerk, bookkeepers, business analysts, controllers, cost accountants, financial analysts, director of finance, FP&A managers, senior accountants, and all. Um, do not expect you can straight away start from a role of a manager. You probably can start from the role of a senior accountant. You probably can start with the role of a bookkeeper or accounts receivable clerk. Usually, this is what most of the people end up happening is if you're not looking for the right opportunity, if you're not looking in the right direction, if you're not putting your right resume in on the websites with the recruitment agencies, you will not get the right roles. So you end up working with a couple of these roles. Controller is a role which does require a CPA designation. Any of the managerial role does require a CPA designation. It's really hard where people actually do get a role without a CPA designation, but it really depends on your recruitment person, like which company is trying to hire you. So always keep those things in mind. Um, Mostly people try and see and understand what are the salary brackets here. So these are just a sample. It might not applicable. It might not be applicable to all the people. So we need to make sure whatever salary ranges we are seeing here, it's just for an example purposes. Might be applicable to a lot of the people, but might not be applicable 100% to the Indian Chartered Accountants because we don't have any Canadian experience or we don't have the CPA designation yet. Anybody who wants to work in the financial industry, financial service sector, uh, anybody who's working under the corporate accounting sector, this is the salary range they're looking at. Now, when we talk about like the 25th, 50th, 75th, and 95 here, so 25th actually explains any candidate who has little to no prior experience on that particular role. 50th is somebody where the candidate has an average experience and has majority of the necessary skills for that particular role. And 75th is candidate above average and 95th is exceptional. So this is how they bifurcate the pricing. Now, I can wait for a minute if everybody wants to just read through it. But now again, this might apply to a couple of people. This might not apply to a lot of other population. So do keep that in mind. And this is for the corporate accounting. Everything is in Canadian dollar. And per annum. Okay. We can move to the next slide. And the next slide actually talks about the experience or the salary for the people who are in the financial service sector, which is like the banking or, sorry, other non-banking financial institutions. So if you're a controller, you would nil to zero experience in that particular role, or you're a beginner to that role, you can make $91,000, which is quite a lot of money in the Canadian market. One fact which I think people would really like to know here is almost 1% of the Canadian population falls under the higher pay scale, which is like 80,000 and above. I don't know if the statistics changed recently, but this is usually what the earning capacity of the most of the people in Canada is. So if you are earning anything which is more than like $80,000, you should feel like, oh my God, you're making a lot of money and you fall under the high earning revenue people. So again, if you have looked at the slide, then I'll move on to the next one. And this is a salary range for the people who are working in the public accounting. Now, the people who are actually in the public accounting, public sector in India, they probably might want to know, like people who are working with the Big Fours or any other public accounting firms. This might apply to them. Again, manager or the senior position is not available to the people who are not CPA designated. So please do keep that in mind. Okay. So moving on, any questions? I'm happy to answer.
So, Sonali, I would like to ask the question first from my side. Definitely, there are lots of questions in the chat box. Most of the questions have already responded. One question, let me start with the questions from the members only first.
Mhm.
One member is asking for how important is the work X criteria mentioned in the JD?
So, whenever somebody is putting into the job description that they're looking for this type of a work experience, why they're asking that particular thing is because this is what they're looking for that particular role. So, if I say somebody who has an experience with the payroll, if you don't have an experience for the payroll, I won't be able to hire you for the role of the payroll. So it's highly critical. Do not ignore JD of any job posting. And that is where I did mention in the past where I said amending your resume based on the job position opening is very important. So some job openings will say that they're looking for a controller who is able to manage the full cycle reviews, accounting, and everything. So if you will focus only on AR and AP and you will not focus on any other aspect of the full cycle accounting, you will not qualify for that role. So you have to make sure you're covering your work experience based on the job description. You have to amend and tailor your resume based on that. I hope this answers Atulji.
Yes, 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 yes. And one more important thing, Sonalji,
Mm-hmm.
as most of the members have raised their queries, you have answered all their queries. Let's say if someone is willing to come to Canada, maybe to Vancouver or otherwise, maybe for the purpose of pursuing CPA, right? Can you give
Mm-hmm.
a tentative idea about the living cost and so that like if some bare minimum living cost because I was just going through with your salary chart and as per your this salary chart it is very clear like if someone wanted to go for a job and if he's not a CPA then definitely I am considering that he will be or she will be at a lower level and then in that case salary may be 41,000, right? So while we are talking about 41,000 salary, right? Let's say someone is joining in 41,000 salary. Will he be or will she be able to manage in Canada as pointed out by C. Vijay Gupta sir also and by you also? That Canada is a very expensive country, right? So let's say if
Right.
in coming from India, then in any case, as a member, I have to understand whether I am able to meet out the expenses there. Or otherwise, let's say if I am coming on a student visa, then how much money should be in my pocket so that I can come to Canada and can meet out my expenditure and can do a CPA. So this is the
So
question.
so
Yeah,
Atulji, this is the question
yeah.
which
No,
everybody wants to
I
know
will
the
explain.
answer.
Yeah, I will
Sure,
explain.
Vijay sir. Of course. Go ahead.
The Atulji, this is a very question like the people here get the salary of $25 or even it start from $15 an hour. And they also live a very lavishly life because they have a family members. Like here is not only that he is working, his wife is working, or if he's alone, then his expenditure are minimum. So here it is not that, and there are other benefits. So basically, it is up to you how you spend the money and how you do it, how you live like. But the minimum wage is here is around $15, and the government has considered this that this is a very little expensive. And for students, I think once they come 20 hours, like out of 40 hours, 20 hours are allowed to work.
Okay.
So
Okay.
all these things are, I'm just explaining one more thing. What we discussed about immigration and other things or these matters, this is among our close group. This is not something which is expert. For everything, there are experts. For immigration, there are experts. We advise them to go to the expert. But since it is for the benefit of our network members, it is a benefit for the members. So these are not the things should be quoted, but the people who comes here comes with a challenge. they want to develop themselves. They want to earn money. They want to basically take the opportunity. And Indian chartered account is not that they will not get a bigger position. They can get a bigger position, but they will not get the preference. And once they are Indian CA and CPA, they are better than the chartered CPA alone here. So we as a chapter always advise that the members who come here go for a CPA designation. And moreover, the CPA is also one restriction that you cannot demonstrate your Indian chartered accountant in your visiting card, and you cannot uh, present that thing. You can put on a CV like your other CV and for a particular one is to 1%, but you cannot publicly say that I'm Indian chartered accountant unless you are a CPA. You can use other degree. So, like our advice to every member, whosoever is coming, that please do the CPA because we want to see our members in a bigger position, in a half of the like they should lead the position. So that is the thing.
So
Right, sir.
I'll just
Yeah,
add one thing here,
yeah,
Atulji.
yeah.
Vijay sir said one thing very right. It's not that the people cannot get a higher designation without a CPA. They can definitely get. And I will give you my example. When I came to Canada, I started with the assistant manager role, but I knew that role was not for me. The example which I gave when I said another lady actually asked me to apply for a job through a reference, I applied for the job, and the CFO of that company actually interviewed me. And I told him that I'm planning to do a CPA, but that time MOU was on hold. It didn't finalize, so I couldn't do CPA that time. So I told him I'm planning to do CPA. And one thing which he came back and he told me is he doesn't care if I do CPA or not. He sees my experience from my resume. He sees that I'm an Indian chartered accountant. I already have a designation. Not everybody is the same. I was lucky. I got that. He actually did consider me, and I got the role of a director of finance here. So it's a pretty big role. And yeah, people do get the positions. It's not they don't get the position. It's just that you have to have the right attitude, plus as well as you have to have the right opportunity and the reference networking. So if you get it all, you probably will be able to get it. But most of the scenarios, we would recommend do your CPA.
One more question, Sunalji. As we were talking about the coaching classes and all, and as you know, right now, lots of all the classes are in a virtual mode. So, is
Mm-hmm.
members who are in India and if they wanted to get enrolled for Densmore for the classes and all, can they do that?
They can definitely do that.
They can do that,
Uh,
right? Yeah.
yes. Like when I did the coaching, so there are two. I gave you the example of the two. There are a lot more available in the market here. When I did 100% virtual, even though I was in Canada. So it all depends how much material they're ready to send you. You probably might not be able to get the physical material, but you will be able to get the material online.
Online.
And
Okay.
most of the classes are online. If you don't want to get the physical classes, then you can take the online classes, which is the new world now. So everybody is studying online now.
So even if a member is sitting in India, they can do the classes here
They can,
and to go
yes,
to Canada for appearing into the exams, right?
yes, they can do that. They can do
Okay.
that. But again, to be able to appear for the exam, they have to have the valid visa.
Let's say if some student is coming to Canada, especially for the exam, right? So as you mentioned that there are 3 days process of holding this CPA exam or something like that, right? So I can consider like the student must be there maybe for a week's time. And once he
Mhm.
then after that he may start hunting a job. As there was a question also like whether a member should come there and then after that they should hunt the job, or before coming to Canada they should start hunting the job. So there are different
Uh,
options. So what do you suggest? What is the best option?
there is no harm in start looking for a job from India. I know a lot of people who actually got their jobs while sitting in Canada, even before they came to Canada. So there are companies who do consider people who are not in Canada, but there are companies whose preference are that the people should already be in Canada. So it goes both ways. It depends which opportunity do you actually end up finding. But yes, it's possible you can start looking for a job sitting in India also. And if you're planning to come to Canada to give your exam, you probably might have to look for the number of days based on keeping in mind there will be a jet lag, significant jet lag. It's day and night, India and Canada. So that's one thing. And then 3 days exams, you want to relieve yourself from the tiredness of the long flight which you get. So a couple of things you probably might want to keep your schedule based on that. And when you said you can start hunting a job after giving your exam when you're coming to Canada for your exam purposes, I would suggest hunt your job only if your visa allows you. If your visa says you cannot, please do not do that.
One more question, ma'am. Again, I'm becoming selfish. First is there age? Age is any bar there for doing CPA? Number one,
Oh,
and
no.
number two, like if I'm sitting in India, if and as we are talking about the youngsters only, so as now I'm 52-year old, so I cannot consider myself as a youngster. So if I would like to have any kind of assignment, outsourcing assignment kind of thing from Canada while I'm sitting in India, is there any possibility for that also?
Vijay sir, you want to answer
Yeah,
this?
yeah, I will answer. Like all opportunities are available, and most of the call center and outsourcing center are either in India or Philippines or somewhere like that. They are not only in Canada, because the market and the cost is better in India and other places other than Canada. So, but for this, you need to prove yourself that you are able to provide the services which are excellent services. We are at par with the international level, for which you need to demonstrate your team qualification, your infrastructure. So that's why in my opening remarks, I covered that since multidisciplinary firms are being allowed, networking are also going to be allowed, it is better to form a network group of like 200 chartered accountant. So at least once you have and brand it, once you have branded, you have a network group, then you can basically go to the market very easily, or like you the success rate is high. But if you go as an individual, then you can only get the work from your some of a counterpart who is Indian chartered accountant doing here, he can do it. But that is not a basically mandate. The mandate is to provide the service from India. It is benefit of the government of India on service sector. So the the new rules, what ICI has proposed, one should take the advantage of it. Like I'm also thinking about it, how to get the network ready for that. But this is one thing which we should look into it.
And just to add what Vijay sir said, sir, Atulji, to do a CPA, age is not a criteria. Age is
Yeah,
not.
age is not criteria. Even I have the people who are 58-year-old, they come here. There are restriction of the attempts. There are not the age. For Indian chartered accountant, I think there are 4 attempts which we can do
Three.
it. Three.
Three.
Yeah. So
Sorry, I should have mentioned this in my
yeah,
discussion earlier with the CPA. So, in India, you get unlimited attempts to appear for your exam. In
yeah.
Canada, if you are appearing under the MOU and you pass your CFE within 3 attempts, it's well and good. If you're not able to pass your CFE in 3 attempts, you have to do the whole CPA course.
Course
You will
again
not
from the
get
beginning.
any from the beginning. You will not get any exemption.
So
Nothing. You will.
it's like an exemption which we are getting in India. Let's say we get an exemption in group one in any paper, so rest of the paper you have to attempt for. So
It is same here. It is
it
same
is
here,
same
like
here.
day one, day two, and day three. So they consider day one as group one and day two and day three as group two. So if you pass day one and you're not able to pass day two and day three, you don't have to appear for day one again. You have to appear just for day two and day three. But you have to complete all the exams in 3 attempts.
Three
If you
attempts,
do
yes.
not pass in 3 attempts, you have to do the whole course from the beginning.
Then you are an Indian child, like then you are a Canadian person,
Canadian
Canadian
person.
resident. Do it from the beginning. Don't take the advantage of the MOU.
It was really a wonderful deliberation, sir, and it was very much informative. And somehow I am also feeling motivated and thinking like, let me also start pursuing CPA. Initially, I was just thinking to pursue CPA Australia, but now I am thinking to pursue CPA Canada. And definitely, I would be having an opportunity of CA Vijay Gupta sir also in Canada and knowledge sharing with Sonalji. It was really a very wonderful deliberation from you, Sonalji, and I'm sure all the members must have got the answers of their queries, and especially like the young members who were behind me and behind my life to have this program since last 1 month, and that's what I was chasing you also, and fortunately we could get the time today. I'm sure because we would be having the YouTube link at the YouTube as well, so the members who could not join today, they would be able to see this webinar over a period of time, and would request you to kindly share your PPT also, which may be useful to all the members. Few of the members were
Sure.
asking your number also, but I don't think that it would be easy because in India and in Canada there is a time lag. So instead of your number, if you can share your email ID so that members can uh,
Yeah, no, the best
then it will
mail
be,
ID, the
yeah,
best mail ID is the chapter mail ID,
chapter mail
info
ID.
Yes.
Okay,
because
that has already been,
yeah,
yeah,
no, we have a volunteers, like if Sonal is busy, then other people will
other body.
respond it. We have a dedicated
Yeah.
chairman,
Okay.
so he will respond it, and we have a very good team. Like it is not that what I wanted to, for the benefit of our members in the central region, I wanted to have a person who has overall understanding, who has recently gone through with these process.
Hmm.
And Sonal has gone those with these process, and moreover, like she has been helping the members who have come here. Even even she has helped the members for preparing for the interview. If they got the interview, how to appear for the interview. So these are the things. That's why I suggested that let Sonal come and explain everything. But as far as once we get the mail, it will be forwarded to the respective person, and it will be done. There are certain things which we need to be done. Like
Centrally.
before coming, at least prepare yourself for good standing certificate. Once you are here, good standing certificate, there are certain like you have to attempt some CP hours or other things. If you are missing, then there are problems. So at least once you are there, try to get your good standing certificate in advance and send
Right.
it to the.
Right, sir. So there is a question from Vaibhav Kalal, and I believe Vijay sir has already given the answer of your question, Vaibhavji. The question of the Vaibhavji is, what are the virtual opportunities for CAs in India without coming there? Opportunities may be basic Excel work for accounting. So Vaibhavji, I think Vijayji has already given the answer of this query, that the opportunities are there, but again you have to share the profile of your firm. You have to express that yes, you have a qualified team who can work for this outsourcing while you are sitting in India, and you should share your experience also. And if you are expert in the subject, then you can definitely do that. There are two options. If you are connecting with the individual member who may be counterpart, then he might be giving you 1 or 2 or 3 assignments which he might be having at his own. But if you start developing a network, good network, then I'm sure you would be getting good work. But at the same time, what you have to keep in mind, that integrity, completion of work with honesty, timely completion of work, and important is secrecy of data, because most important here is, whenever we are taking any assignment from outside India, the client is expecting that you are not going to disclose, or you are not going to share their business secrets with anyone else. So this is what is more important. So if we talk about in a nutshell, that integrity, independence, and honesty, these three things are important, along with your knowledge and along with your commitment. So these few things are important for getting work from outside India. One last question, Sunalji will ask from you. As in India, the pass percentage of CA is very low. So one question has been asked by a member: what are the passing rates for Canadian CP?
I am sure everybody will smile when they will when they will know the passing percentage for the CPA. It's 70 to 80% people who pass.
So please be rest assured, friends. It's not like CA, so that
Not at all.
we always say CA means come again, and especially to motivate the students, we always say CA means come again. You can appear for the exam maybe after 6 months, so don't worry about that. But in CPA, I believe as the pass percentage is 80,
Just
70
give
to
your exam and
80%,
go. Don't come
70
back.
to 80%. So
No, I'm sure, like Indian chartered accountant, if they just go through proper process, it is not
correct,
a
correct.
like big challenge. It is
It's very
like
simple.
the CA inter is more difficult than this.
I agree with Vijayji completely. When I actually
So,
appeared for my exam for the CPA,
yes.
I think Vijay sir, you were the one I used to talk to you, and I used to say, what am I even doing this? It looks like what I don't know what we were doing. I just felt like we were a typewriter, but at the end, the way they assess the knowledge is way different than we assess the
Yeah,
knowledge in India. So that's actually what makes it more easier here. But
So
as
basically,
and when we know like how to appear and how to
and
prepare.
one thing I will suggest, like those who are a senior member, like Atulji raised the question that if I want to do a CA, CPA, you are good. Make your speed, typing speed better.
That's very important.
Rest you know.
that is correct.
Your
That is
technical knowledge is amazing, Atulji. Everybody knows you have learned a lot during your all your
Yes.
experience, work experience. It's just that you need to have an amazing
correct,
typing
correct.
skill to write your
That
exam.
is. I remember while I was in school and the college, then I start learning typing, but I could not learn because unable to understand the keypad and type.
Uh, so I will
So
suggest appear for the exam if your typing skills are amazing.
okay,
Yeah.
good.
That is what you need for CPA.
Right. So now I believe we all are like all questions of the attendees are over. We have with us the Secretary Sri Shashikant Chandrakarji. I request him to kindly give a formal vote of thanks. But before concluding the session, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to CA Vijay Gupta sir, who has taken the initiative, and he is the motivating factor to me. One day I got a call. One day I spoke to CA Manoj Fadnis, our past president, and he recommended that if you would like to go for Canada, kindly contact CA Vijay Gupta ji. And only on a message he responded me immediately. He called me and he said that Sonal is the best asset in our chapter, and she is going to take this deliberation. So I'm sure the members must have understood the entire pros and cons. And yes, your integrity, your honesty is more important. Your knowledge is more important. It should not work like in India while we are preparing a resume, we are writing, we do the accounting also, we do the auditing also, we do internal concurrent, we do GST, income tax. So definitely there must be some specialization, and our resume should be as per the job description given by the company. If the company is asking for the GST, then we need to talk about the GST only. If the company is asking for account receivables, then we need to discuss about the account receivable only, and the company is going to assess you on the basis of their job description. And if you start talking about something else which the company is not looking for, then I'm sure you won't be able to get the good job. Rather, you won't be able to get a job there. So, friends, you keep these integrities in your mind. And once you keep these integrities in your mind, I'm sure you will be a successful chartered accountant and a successful CPA also. And you will be like Sunalji. She is working there as a director. It is at a young age. So I'm sure you will also get that kind of milestone there. And definitely Vijayji is there to bless you every day. So with these words, I'm really thankful to both of you, sir. And now I request C.A. Shashikant Chandrakarji for his formal vote of thanks. Over to C.A. Shashikant Chandrakarji.
Thank you very much, Atul Bhaiya. Respected CA Vijay Gupta sir, today's chief guest of the session. We are very much thankful to you, sir. You have given time throughout this session and In between, you have also deliberated some issues and questions to the our participants. And I am very much thankful to CA Sonal Goyalji, who has taken very nicely all the aspects for the our young chartered accountants and the chartered accountants who are willing to go abroad and especially to Canada, to what they should do and what scopes they have opened in the Canada. So in such a wonderful session, we have enlightened all the aspects about what we can do and what we should do to migrate to Canada and practice to in the Canada. And at last but not the least, we are very much thankful to CA Atul Agrawal sir, who has taken all the pain to arrange this wonderful VCM for benefit of our members. And all the participants who have attended this VCM, and our office staff who have taken all the arrangements to organize this VCM. Thank you everyone for attending this VCM. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Once again, I'm really thankful to you, and thank you, Sonalji. I'll definitely be in touch with you, and we'll take the advice from time to time, sir. Right, sir. Okay, sir. Right, sir. Because in Canada it's night. At your place it's night. So good night
It's
to
almost 2 a.m. Almost 2 a.m.
No, it's around 11 p.m. there.
Okay.
Okay,
We
and
are
I'm
in
sure
Pacific time.
both of you must have skipped your dinner also. So I'm really sorry for that
Oh,
inconvenience.
no, that's fine. Thank you. Thanks.
Absolutely fine. Thank you so much.
Okay, sir.
Should I close?
Yes.